You don't need to quit social media to stop brain rot or even cure it. In fact, studies show that if you use social media in a certain way, it can even be beneficial to your well being. Let's look at how social media rots our brain, how you can start reversing it without quitting social media, and what I did to effortlessly reach a low screen time. A while ago, even I was in the brain rot trap, and I can completely relate to the feeling this type of content leaves us with, and the frustration of not being able to stop despite wanting to. But what even is brain rot? In May this year, my lovely niece came to my place, and I noticed something crazy. She was very fond of watching YouTube videos, and she used to do it while eating and when she was bored. I was curious, so one day I just sat with her to see what she watches, and what I saw just made me sick to my gut. It was just short, colorful videos with loud music and a million sound and visual effects to release as much dopamine in her tiny undeveloped brain to keep her watching. And it breaks my heart because now she cannot stop. And whenever she gets angry or out of control, mobile is the first thing that is handed to her to regulate her emotions. And this is what brain rot content does to us. According to my understanding, it is just low value, flashy videos and content that leaves us feeling dead inside and as if our brain is literally rotting. But what this type of content actually does to our brain is quite shocking. These are the 5 effects excessive social media use has on our brain. Number 1, phone addiction. Although this is a pretty obvious one, what surprised me was that phone addiction was found to be similar as substance abuse, and the person trying to quit can experience withdrawals. The deeper we go into this addiction, the harder it is to quit. Number 2, it fucks our focus. Short, flashy videos reduce our attention span and make it impossible to focus on simpler things like reading a book or a research paper. It is also found that people who are addicted to their smartphones experience diminished mental functioning when the phone is in their sight, even if it's switched off. It's almost as if the phone is calling for us and we have to exert effort or willpower to resist it. Number 3, inability to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. Recently, when I was traveling in local train, I witnessed quite a dystopian spectacle. There was a person watching a movie on his phone with one hand and playing Candy Crush with another phone on the second hand. This is the effect excessive social media has on us. We need more and more stimulation to enjoy similar levels of enjoyment or excitement, and the simple and meaningful things in our life just lose their appeal. Number 4, anxiety and stress. You might have heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. But there's more to social media than just FOMO. It is found that excessive use of social media is correlated with depression, anxiety, stress, and even suicide rates. Number 5, lowered self control. Prolonged exposure to brain rot content can shut our self control centers in the brain called the prefrontal cortex. This leaves us with less control on other things like our diets, our emotions, etc. A lot of people just say these are the negative effects of social media or screen time and just now stop. But I wish it was so easy. Anyone who's tried reducing their screen times knows how difficult it can be. Let us see how we can sustainably reduce our screen time without losing our sanity. Let me tell you a secret. I don't think social media is bad. Even brain rot content isn't evil. I believe it's not the thing, but our approach to it. The same way we can use food for both nourishment and numbing our emotions, we can use social media to connect to our loved ones, add value to others' lives, or use it to numb our brain with shit content. I mean, social media does have a pull to it, but if we approach it with the right tools and strong intentionality, I believe that we can use it instead of allowing it to use us. Before looking at the exact steps, let us try to understand the situation. Why do you think we bury ourselves in overstimulation? Despite knowing the fact that it is ruining our brain, fucking our attention spans, taking away our precious time, and making us paranoid. It's because we get something out of it. There's a payoff. Stimulation or overstimulation is an exceptional way to avoid the feelings of discomfort, whether that discomfort arises out of boredom or strong emotions. Pavlov conditioned dogs to salivate on the sound of a bell by ringing it before giving them meals. The dog started associating the sound of a bell with food and started salivating even when there was no food. Social media has turned us into Pavlov's dogs. We associate discomfort with burying our heads in phones, even when there is no specific utility then and there. And fighting this problem with willpower or effort is useless because when we are stressed out or feeling terrible, our logical brain goes out for a vacation. This is why I believe that we must have these two things when we are trying to tackle this issue. Number one, a healthier alternative of scrolling, which pacifies us and calms our emotions down as a short term measure. This can include breath work, meditation, journaling, walking, exercising, or playing a sport, reading a book, listening to a podcast, any creative work that we like. Even watching movies is preferable to doom scrolling. Number two, a system to understand and release these trapped emotions and trauma as a long term measure. This can include things like emotion based meditation, journaling, therapy, EMDR, trauma release exercises, yoga, Tai Chi, etc. I'd like to give an honorable mention here to boredom as well. Boredom is one of the most underrated concepts when it comes to intentionality, discipline, and self awareness. It helps our minds process our ignored thoughts and emotions. Because of that, it helps us understand ourselves better and become more self aware. If we choose to sit in boredom because it is so uncomfortable, after some time, our minds just start coming up with things to do alternatively and it launches us into action. It also lowers our bar for enjoyment and helps us enjoy the simple pleasures of life. Now, let us look at how we can put all of this information into action to stop doom scrolling and cure brain rot using these 4 steps. Number one, turn off all notifications from all the social media apps. This is the most powerful thing you can do to take back control from these applications. Number two, set a dedicated time for social media consumption. What actually surprised me was that 30 minutes to 1 hour of social media consumption is good for our well being, but more than 1 hour was found to be detrimental. So pick a time, ideally later in the day when you're done with all the difficult tasks. Literally write this down. I'm going to be using social media from this time to this time. Number three, stick to the timings. This is the most difficult part. For most of us, it's almost become this automatic habit of taking out our phones at the slightest of discomfort and start scrolling. Whenever you catch yourself reaching out for your phone, do these steps. Pause for a second and take a couple of deep breaths. Remind yourself that you are not forbidding yourself from social media. You are just trying to break an unconscious pattern. Sit in boredom doing nothing for as long as possible. When you can't anymore, pick any one of the healthier alternatives above to doom scrolling. Be kind to yourself if you end up using social media anyways. Remember that you're facing a strong unconscious pattern. Number four, incorporate a system in your life to process the suppressed feelings and trauma. These are the exact steps that I use to get more intentional and have a better command over my internet consumption. I believe that approaching overstimulation in this holistic way helps us reach the core of the problem and increases the chances of us actually resolving the issue. If we really want to break the pattern of mindless social media consumption, we need an alternative that is equally strong in comforting us. Journaling, I believe, is one such alternative that is not only best for replacing social media, but also helps us understand and release our trapped emotions in the long run. To watch a video on journaling, click here.